All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode. So today I want to talk about the 5 remaining NBA free agents that are most intriguing. Obviously, the free agency market has kind of dried up with most of the big names already signing in places. Dorian Finney-Smith signs with Houston, and we got all these other signings that have already happened and are done, are signed, sealed, delivered. So at this point, what's left? What are we looking at, and who is still on the market that could possibly make a difference for some of these contending teams? So number one that's still out there and available is Chris Paul. So Chris Paul obviously was with the Spurs, helped out with Victor Wembanyama, and it seems unlikely that he'd go back to San Antonio considering they just drafted Dylan Harper. They want to develop these young guys, and I think Chris Paul's time in San Antonio is over. The teams I'm looking out for from what we've heard is that he wants to stay close to his family out on the West Coast. So automatically, the Clippers are the team that I think of first. He's played there. He's been there before. Obviously, it was with different ownership. Steve Ballmer now is completely different. He's more of a player-friendly guy. So at this point, the Clippers make a ton of sense. It's a veteran team, so it's not like he's going to be playing with young guys. They're also knocking on the door of being a contender. I mean, last year, a lot of people thought that they could be the sleeper to represent the Western Conference. And frankly, they took Denver to 7 and Denver took OKC to 7. So even though they lost early in the playoffs, I would say they were already a pretty solid team last year. And obviously, if they figure out how to keep Kawhi healthy now, I think this team could make some noise and possibly, I mean, you never know. The West is so tight that it could be the Clippers coming out of the West next year. So I think Chris Paul adds depth. He gives someone that can handle the ball to kind of help Harden not have to do all that. Harden can play off ball a little bit. So ultimately, that makes a ton of sense. Phoenix is another team that people are throwing out there. The thing with Phoenix is, yes, I guess he'll be closer to his family, but if he is trying to win a ring, it ain't happening in Phoenix, not this next year. Him and Booker are close, but that's just, if he wants to win a chip and be near his family, the Clippers just make a ton more sense. The wild card team that I'm going to throw out there that I've been thinking about and I think could make some sense is the Denver Nuggets. So Denver is likely losing Russell Westbrook. So who's going to eat up those minutes? Again, the young guys is what everyone just assumes. But if you're Chris Paul and you won a championship, where else would be better than with a team that has Nikola Jokic and has just done some great moves this offseason to put themselves in better position to win a championship again. So I think the Nuggets are a low-key sleeper. It is unlikely, but Chris Paul eating up those Russell Westbrook minutes, especially with the knock on Westbrook, obviously, is the turnovers, and he doesn't really read the game sometimes very well, where Chris Paul's the complete opposite. Chris Paul's someone you could trust with the ball and say, hey, we're up 10 right now. We're trying to buy Jokic some minutes. Just execute the offense. Be smart with the ball. I mean, I personally think that would be a great fit on a 1-year deal. Yes, they have young guys they want to develop, but, I mean, I think that's pretty solid. Another name that's out there is Al Horford. This one pretty much seems like the most obvious of where he's going to go. The Warriors seem to be the best fit for him. It seems like they've been pretty much tied together for the past few days. So I expect that announcement to come in at any time. If it's not them, the Lakers obviously have been looking for a big, but now they got DeAndre Ayton. And another thing that maybe is why it's taking a while to get the news of the Warriors signing Horford is he might just be retiring. So we'll see what happens there. It's unlikely he goes back to Boston, but especially with them, with the Tatum injury, them likely not being contenders this next year, I think he'd fit really well with the Warriors if he wants to give it one more year. So I think that's where he'll end up. Before mentioned, Russell Westbrook is going to be a free agent. A little tougher with him. There is a world in which I guess he goes back to Denver, but ultimately I think Westbrook will probably get signed by a team that wants that excitement, like Sacramento Kings, who seem to be a team that just kind of wants to sign players with, I guess that they don't really know if they'll fit well together, but at least they got a last name that's recognized on their back. Miami, obviously, with Russ is out there. Same thing that Pat Riley loves to bring in superstars and guys like that. And ultimately, Russ is a dog. Russ is still, I think, a difference maker. And obviously, he makes his mistakes. But as a teammate, we've heard nothing but good things. And he makes shit happen. So That's another team that I would look out for. Obviously, like I said, he could end up just going back to Denver, but I think they had a good year together, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just kind of part ways here. And a team like Sacramento picks up Westbrook if he obviously does that, or somehow manages to find a way to go, back home to LA, which I doubt. The biggest possibly name out there is Dame Lillard. And he's been posting things and making it seem like he's going to go back to Portland, which is actually exactly what I think is going to happen. I think Dame, one of the things that came out of this whole thing with the Bucks and the fallout there is that he wanted to rehab in Portland and be near his kids and his family. So what better way to do it than to go back to Portland? He's already getting paid from the Bucks contract. He can be near his family. He's not playing this next year anyway. So at this point, even though I guess Dame would love to get a ring, I don't think that this is the way he envisions getting a ring is by, sitting on the bench in street clothes all year long and then collecting a ring at the end of the season. So I think this is kind of a year that's a wash for him. And what better way to do it than to go back home to Portland, be with his kids, and kind of, tutor the young guys in Portland, that young team. The fan base loves him. So he's almost going to be like a player coach. I think that's a great fit for him just for a year. And then after that, hey, if Portland's they might be a sleeper good team next year. So if they actually show that they can be a good team, maybe he sticks around past next year. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a one-year deal, go back to Portland for the rehab. Obviously he's a veteran presence, a good guy from all accounts. So why not, if you're Portland, bring him in as a vet that can help these young guys develop and get better. Miami's been in talks as well, obviously. But I just don't see if he didn't like being in Milwaukee because he was too far from his kids. Why is he going to like being in Miami away from his kids? Plus injured and not playing. So that one's being thrown out there. I mean, if I'm Dame and you want to be around your kids, you're going to Portland. So unless Miami somehow finds a way to, I guess, pay him more. But I think Dame is not thinking that way. I think he wants to be around his kids. Portland's where I think he's ending up. And the last thing I would say with Dame is also he might just wait. I mean, I guess it doesn't make sense if technically, he's just trying to get a contract done. But at the same time, if he's not really looking for the paycheck right now or any extra money, which he probably is not, I don't know why, if, maybe you wait a little, you're still going to be in Portland. You don't have to work necessarily and show up there for the Blazers. You rehab, you see where you're at, and you never know if again, he got hurt in April. He got hurt in the first round of the playoffs. So if there's a slight chance he starts feeling like, okay, in February he's ramping up, in March he's kind of playing some pickup 5-on-5, and then maybe in April he can actually do some things, then maybe that's where you think, all right, why don't I come back and be a difference maker for a contender? Plus then I'm only away from my kids for like the playoff run. So that's another option for him, is that he waits. I think he's going to go back to Portland. I think that makes sense for him, and that's where he'll end up. The other guys I didn't mention that are still technically free agents, but they are restricted free agents, is Josh Giddey, Cam Thomas, Jonathan Kuminga. Giddey, all of these guys, like Giddey, I think is staying with the Bulls. Cam Thomas, I think, is staying with the Nets. Jonathan Kuminga, I think, is staying with the Warriors. The difference is, are they staying there with a long-term contract solution, or are they just signing a qualifying offer and it's a one-year thing, and then next year they're free agents? And that's really, I think, what everybody's waiting on. Most teams' cap space and moves, that's all dried up at this point. So I feel like this new CBA has kind of hurt the restricted free agency market. And for those of you that don't know, being a restricted free agent means that you are a free agent, but your team essentially has dibs on you. So Josh Giddey is on the Bulls. He's a restricted free agent. If, say, the Pistons wanted to offer him a 3-year, $60 million contract, the Bulls have the option to match that and keep him. Or if they, choose not to match it, then he can go ahead and sign with the Pistons. But that gives the leverage to the team, because you're going to say, all right, well, why am I going to offer you any kind of big money unless I know someone else is willing to offer it to you? So you wait. And then also, if you're a team like in this scenario, the Pistons, why would you wait, throw this money at Giddey, in a way kind of overpay a little bit because you are afraid that the team's going to match it, and you might not even get the free agent, and now you wasted some time or strategy in other free agents. So again, back in the day, this worked out when teams just unloaded cap space and didn't really care. But now when they got to watch their pockets a little bit and try to watch out for the first apron, the second apron, and all that, as we spoke about in the last podcast, it makes a difference. So now I think these guys obviously are kind of stuck. And now, the teams have the leverage, and it's if these guys want to bet on themselves or not. Do they like the long-term offer that these teams, the Bulls, the Kings, the Warriors, respectively, are offering them? Or are they going to take a chance and bet on themselves, sign the one-year qualifying offer, which is just a one-year deal, and now next year they are just completely free agents, not restricted or anything like that. And obviously there you're taking the risk that if you get injured, you might not get nearly as much as you were even getting from the current team that has you. So it's just a matter of waiting it out. I expect all these guys to go back to their respective teams unless a trade happens or something like that, but we'll see. But ultimately, I think they all stay with Giddey with the Bulls, Cam Thomas with the Nets, Kuminga with the Warriors, and then, whether it's a qualifying offer, maybe Kuminga's the one that does get moved or traded to a team like Miami, which has been rumored. So we'll see what happens. Slow time in sports for us, football, NBA, and even hockey fans, since there's nothing really going on. But NBA Summer League's around the corner, and I'll try to do a podcast in the next few days about what to look for and who to look for in NBA Summer League. And I'll talk to you guys then. Enjoy the 4th of July.